Hello, I'm Taylor Kevin Isaacs. I'm a professor. I taught at Cal State Northridge in the Department of Kinesiology for 12 years, and I designed the curriculum for therapeutic exercise, now known as restorative exercise for special populations. I was also named as IDEA Trainer of the Year, ACE Trainer of the Year, and Metric's World's Best Trainer of the Year 2 years in a row. I am the co-owner and co-founder of the Center of Restorative Exercise, which is known as C.O.R.E Centers, Northridge. And I work with a variety of private clients and I also teach and mentor my staff. So essentially, I teach it, preach it, learn it, live it, and love it. I was a combat medic in the 103rd Mechanized Infantry in South African Defence Force. So I always had a passion for healing and a passion for helping people. And my dad actually told me, son, choose a profession where at the end of your life, there'll be less suffering because you are on the planet. And he said, that's a life well lived. So then my passion went into medicine. And after South Africa, I came to UCLA to study, and I was a pre-med major. And it was the medical profession I loved, but I didn't like the system in which the medical profession was practiced. So I didn't like economic medicine or bureaucratic medicine. I wouldn't spend my whole day on paperwork. I wanted to spend my day on people. So then I decided to go into kinesiology and became a clinical exercise physiologist. And then after graduation, I got a teaching position at Cal State Northridge. And it was a clinical professorship, which is very interesting because my responsibilities were fourfold. Number one, I taught my students. Number two, I did my clinical research. Number three, I supervised my students in a clinical setting. And number four is I interned all the students in applied kinesiology and therapeutic exercise. So I had an opportunity to be in the classroom with my students and teach them the lessons and then watch them apply the lessons learned in the clinic. And I spent 12 years at the university, and people always came up to me and said, how come there aren't more people like you and more facilities like there is at the university? And I said, that's a really good question. Then in 1999, Aaron Baker had a spinal cord injury, very serious. He called himself a head in a bed. He was paralyzed from the neck down. And he was a professional motocross racer. So he and I met and I did my research on him. I was selected as the best in the world for my research on Aaron Baker. And then I said, this is the deal here. Why does Aaron have to be the exception to the rule? Everyone said there's a 1 in a million chances of Aaron walking again. I said, let's scrap the million and focus on the one. So Aaron and his mother, Laquita, and I decided to start the Center of Restorative Exercise. So I transitioned out of the university, went into private practice, and then put healthcare into health clubs. So I became known as the founding father of restorative exercise. And we call it inclusive fitness now, which means that someone with a disability and someone without a disability, someone who's a geriatric, someone who's a pediatric can all train under the same roof. So I worked in my private practice. Aaron and Laquita did a lot of fundraising. They rode across the country twice on bicycles just to prove to the world that let's focus on the power of possibility. So while I was in private practice, I fine-tuned my system of treatment, which I call the TKI system, which is my name, Taylor Kevin Isaacs, but it also stands for training, knowledge, and inspiration. So training is working toward the quality of life. Knowledge is just potential power. It's the application of the knowledge that leads to understanding. And then inspiration is you have to aspire to inspire everyone to the power of possibility. And then in 2001, I left the university. In 2011, 10 years later, we opened up the Center of Restorative Exercise on 1111. And it was just myself, all of my private clients, and we divided it into a three-way partnership where I did all the clinical, which is healing and teaching. Laquita, she did all the administration, which means to keep the facility showroom ready so I can practice my profession. And Aaron, he was the brand director. He was the face of C.O.R.E. He was the person that said, look, I was afforded a wonderful opportunity, and I just want the world to know that there aren't any secrets. They're just gatekeepers to information. And we are those gatekeepers to information. So we've got a personal interest in developing C.O.R.E. And the interest that I have is, my dad also told me that you have to live your life in certain stages. You have to get very well educated. Then you have to practice your profession. Then you have to get very good at your profession. And then you have to teach and mentor other individuals. And then the fifth stage is when you can watch those people that you taught and mentor, teach and mentor other people. So that was the plan for C.O.R.E, is to duplicate myself in like-minded individuals. Also, while teaching at the university, graduation was bittersweet for the students. I basically said to the students, where are you going to be employed? And the students said, I don't know. I said, how could this be that you're walking off the stage to get your diploma? Sweet as, right? And then you just drop off like falling off the edge of a cliff to your first day of unemployment. So I said, I'm going to develop a facility that's going to benefit the community and the students. And I'm proud to say that my 5 staff members, all of them have master's degrees in kinesiology from Cal State University, Northridge. And Natalie had her 2nd year anniversary here yesterday. And she told me, unsolicited, that she's learned more from me in the past 2 years than she did in her entire education. And that's the way it should be. You have to shoulder up to someone and then be a sponge, a thirsty sponge. So our goal is to develop this model and then duplicate this model statewide, nationwide, and worldwide. And the real goal is to leave behind a personal legacy. And that personal legacy will benefit not only this generation, but future generations to come. And I just want to tell you where I did all my studying at UCLA. I did all my studying in the cemetery. When I arrived at UCLA, I lived in the apartment complex. The manager said, the neighbors on the right are rowdy, all the sororities and fraternities, but the neighbors on the left, they're very quiet. I said, what do you mean? I looked over the balcony and there was the veteran cemetery. And since I was a veteran of the South African Defence Force, I have a lot of reverence for people who gave up their lives for their country. So I did all of my studying at the cemetery. It was very quiet. Some people might think it's macabre. I found it very relaxing, but I always looked at the dash between the day that someone was born and died. And I always thought, what would have this person been doing if they were alive today? So my motivation was to say, I could be dead halfway through my next sentence. No one knows. Life changes. And I choose to focus on faith, which is the assured expectations of things to come. So I wake up in the morning and I say, thank God I woke up this morning, because a lot of people go to sleep not even thinking that they might not wake up. There are people today who got the promotion, the upgrade. They went to sleep last night and they never woke up today. So I'm in a position to really value precious quality time. And if you can affect a small amount of people for a small amount of time, that is eternal. So the Center of Restorative Exercise is a facility that promotes the continuity of care. First off, it's the ongoing benefits of exercise. Now follow this carefully. When someone is injured, you are in a state of degeneration. Then you regenerate. Then the physical therapists are very noble people, but they're practicing in a broken system. So you're discharged, and then where do you go? You go home, and you ask and answer your own questions. So we designed the Center of Restorative Exercise in order to have that continuity of care. So someone could go from degeneration to regeneration, to health and wellness, to fitness and performance. So our mission statement at C.O.R.E is to help anyone with a disability, a disease, a musculoskeletal injury, anyone who's obese, anyone who's succumbed to deconditioning disuse syndrome, anyone who is just interested in improving the quality of their life through fitness. So our mission statement is very important. Our mission statement is to prevent the secondary complications and degenerative changes that typically accompany a disabling condition, and also to improve someone's function, independence, and self-efficacy through the power of exercise. So my philosophy is C.O.R.E is established as medicine. Exercise is medicine. Once you start exercising, you get fit in the body, you get ready in the mind, and you get high in the spirits. And that's how I've defined exercise as being beneficial for the body, for the mind, and for the spirit. When someone has a spinal cord injury, we focus on the word injury. And people recover from injuries. We don't focus on the word disease. When we're treating someone with the disease, we have to be 50 steps ahead of the game, because the person realistically could be here today and gone tomorrow. We focus on the word injury, and we say that it's possible to recover from an injury. You have an injury. So what we have to do is we have to put all of the risk factors onto the table, and we have to knock them out one by one. We have to make sure that your cardiorespiratory system does not become deconditioned. We have to be sure that your bones do not demineralize. We have to be sure that your joints do not adapt to a shortened position. We have to be sure that your muscles don't atrophy. So how do our services benefit anyone recovering from a spinal cord injury? We have 7 components in the TKI circle of function. All of these components are interrelated and interdependent. So we focus on improving the person's musculoskeletal strength, improving flexibility, improving cardiorespiratory endurance, improving core control, improving balance, improving posture, improving gait mechanics, and improving performance. And again, each one of these components are interrelated and interdependent. How does C.O.R.E benefit Zach as well? We do not fly by the seat of our pants. Number 1, we send out all the paperwork ahead of time. Number 2, we do an expert evaluation. Number 3 is we get an accurate diagnosis from the physician. And number 4 is we have a well thought out plan of care. With exercise, if there's no change, there's no change. And with any injury, it takes time for the neurophysiological adaptations to take place. So we're looking at progress over time. And how does C.O.R.E benefit C.O.R.E? How does C.O.R.E benefit Zach? We refuse to prognosticate because it's a prejudice in prognosis. If someone tells Zach, you were diagnosed as an Asia B L1 motor complete, people could live with that for the rest of their life. They don't know that they can be reclassified. So as the body changes, you have to be reclassified. So we at C.O.R.E are here to make sure that the process is the progress, and whatever we do today will lead to a healthier tomorrow. So exercise is medicine. How C.O.R.E benefits Zach specifically is that one size fits nobody. That's our rule. Everything has to be personalized, and everything has to be progressive, and everything has to be structured and integrated. And we work toward short-term goals, which lead to medium-term goals, which lead to long-term goals, which lead to ultimate goals. So Zach's goal is to walk London Marathon, April 22nd, 2018. So we have to match the training to that target to have the best carryover and performance. So in a sense, we have to hit that proverbial nail on the head, and we have to make sure that Zach is ready for the marathon mentally, physically, intellectually, spiritually, and emotionally. And that when he finishes that marathon, he's standing upright, smiling, saying, I'm ready to do this again tomorrow. So our goal is to make sure that Zach is 100% prepared to embark on the next phase of his journey. Another way that C.O.R.E benefits Zach is we look at the client as having the largest speaking part in this whole production. We look at ourselves as mechanics working on people instead of cars. Even those mechanics that work on Ferraris, the Ferraris can't talk back. So Zach, I know, signed up for Everton Football Club, and footy lives in his body. So there was a footy ball, and Zach said, mind if I give it a kick? He did. That was a month ago. That turned into Zach going to the Big Five, getting portable goals and some footballs. And now Zach doesn't have to watch football from the side anymore. He's now back to the field playing. And Zach shared with me that we capture the physiological changes, but we also have to capture the psychosocial changes as well. So Zach shared with me that he actually was very sad when he watched the footy players, because he saw the footy players running on the field, and one of the doctors told Zach that he'll never walk again. Now, that's damaging mentally, because in medicine there is never a never and there's never an always. You always look at the possibility. So at C.O.R.E, how we benefit Zach is that we focus on possibility-based medicine instead of probability-based medicine. And this is the difference. In possibility-based medicine, you say anything is possible. Let's try and assess. In probability medicine, you think, oh, these are the odds and the probabilities, and that keeps you in a box. So at C.O.R.E, my approach and philosophy is not to think outside the box, to think that there isn't even a box within which to think. So our philosophy is to look at Zach as a teammate, and we don't use the words, you are disabled. I mean, what is disabled? Disabled is when you take the batteries out of a toy, and then that toy becomes disabled, right? So we look at the point that you are recovering from an injury. We look at the point that you don't have to be a professional athlete to think like one and to train like one. We look at the point of looking at the words that we use, which are very uplifting. We want to create an interaction of encouragement. We don't want to put a pin in someone's balloon by the choice of words that we use. So I even have an issue in my profession when they say, oh, the good leg and the bad leg. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, good grief, you know. So people ask me all the time, what standards do you have, Taylor? And I say, the only standard that I have, and I want my staff to aspire to, is, do they want me working on me? So for example, if I had an injury or a physical impairment, I would like me working on me. And that's the standard that I hold myself to. So when we look at the interactions, we need to think in terms of how the environment can affect someone's personality and talent. And I'm telling you that personality and talent are enduring qualities, and both are affected by the environment. So we don't want the person to be damaged by a Mr. or Mrs. Vinegar. We don't want the person to feel like they've just met someone who's been baptized in lemon juice. So how C.O.R.E benefits Zach is I've demedicalized C.O.R.E. I mean, I am life support certified. I can do medical procedures like you won't believe. Walking into C.O.R.E, you're not going to see a sterile hallway. You're not going to see stale elevator music. You're not going to see people who look like they've been baptized in lemon juice. We want to create the optimal healing environment. We want to demedicalize C.O.R.E. We want people to walk in, want people to think this is my personal war room, this is my space. We want people to feel welcome. We want people to feel like this is a place where they can come. It's a destination point. We don't tell people your hour's up like a revolving door, now you need to leave. How C.O.R.E benefits Zach is we design independent training programs. And as a result of designing independent training programs, the clients have been taught exactly what they need to do. So they can replicate what they need to do when we're not with them. So I will meet with Zach, and then Zach will be left to his own devices. Like today, Zach said, do you mind if I do the leg press machine? I said, of course not, Zach. And then Zach called me over and said, today I'm going to set a personal record. I feel it in my bones. I said, let's get the camera and record this. And Zach pressed 90 pounds on the leg press. History was made, and we captured that on February the 2nd, 2018 at C.O.R.E centers in Northridge, California. So that's my win for the day. And when someone asks me what are my chances of a full recovery, I look at them and I say, first off, do not compare yourself to anyone else, because with spinal cord injury, every injury is different. So don't focus on being someone else, because the best you'll be is a second-rate them. Focus on being your best self. I said number 2 is we have to set goals, and we have to work toward those goals, and they have to be meaningful goals, and we have to make sure that we are on point with those goals. And Zach is recovering because of continuity of care. I have a formula called the success formula, and this success formula can be applied to anything in life. It simply means success equals PET, which means passion. Do I want to recover? E, do I have the energy to put into recovery? And T, do I have the time to put into recovery? So Zach, from the moment that he had his injury in 2012, either September 11 or September 12, that's still debatable, but 2012 with 2018 right now, it will be 6 years. Look at Zach's record of continuity of care. Zach hasn't allowed himself to succumb to deconditioning disuse syndrome. Zach hasn't allowed himself to become detrained. Zach, on the other hand, is defying all the odds and probabilities and showing people the possibility of not only regaining the ability to walk, but having aspirations of walking in London Marathon, having aspirations of becoming a world-class swimmer, having aspirations of everything that Zach does is designed to go from the training room to the trophy room. And I will be Zach's guide by his side. I will be there every step of the way because Zach shows that he has the passion, the energy, and the time. And if you ask me what is the number one predictor for recovery, I will say daily study, daily practice, daily preparation equals personal victory. And I will tell you right now that if someone isn't recovering, all that you ask them is, do you have the passion? Yes. Do you put in the energy? They'll say no. Do you have the time? No. If someone says they're going to do 1 hour once a week, they're dreaming and scheming. Hell no. I mean, it's not work. It's purposefully hard, motivating work. But I shouldn't even say hard work because I've had clients tell me that this is not hard work. Hard work is lying in the hospital, unable to move a muscle from the neck down, looking at the ceiling. That's hard work. So this is a way to recover. And I will tell you, exercise is medicine. The only way to rebuild bone, ligament, tendon, connective tissue, fascia is through exercise. All the medicines in the world that can help maybe prevent some osteoporotic changes taking place in the bone, or maybe attenuate or retard osteoporotic changes taking place in the bone. But the only way to build bone is through movement. So the reason that Zach has been successful is because he subscribes to my tenets. Simply put, movement equals improvement, rest equals rust. If you've got a moving part, you've got to move it. And if you can't move your legs or you can't move your toes, you have to have someone move them for you, because that is a neurophysiological principle. You have to figure out how to turn the neural pathways into superneural highways. You have to figure out how to make those muscles and nerves wire together and fire together. I mean, literally speaking, if the booty ain't moving, the body ain't grooving. And when the body moves, the brain grooves. End of. Sweet as. Okay. When I first met Zach 18 months ago, Zach came in and I said, first off, this guy's traveling halfway across the world. Second off, come on, you Reds. He's a red man. Third, I looked at Zach and I said to him that you have got drive and you've driven. What you need is direction. And I'm here to give you the direction. And that is how Zach and I work so well together, is that Zach knows that things could be done. He doesn't know how to do those things. But again, it's good not to know something because you go from doubt to surety to certainty. So Zach right now knows how to train in order to improve the quality of his life. And how has Zach progressed since I've met him? Well, put it this way. We've had milestones here. Zach said he wants to walk unassisted. Zach walked unassisted with me in Northridge, California. End of. Zach said he wants to get back on the football field. Zach did that here with me. End of. So if we look back at history, we can think of the history that has been made here. But then we always look at the team approach, because I am operating under the authority of Andy Galbraith, who's Zach's primary chief physical therapist, who's been with Zach since day one. So we always look at the philosophy of team. So we talk in terms of we and us, and as teammates, we're working toward the same goal. So if you look at Zach's team, I don't look at myself working with Zach. I look at myself as being part of a team working with Zach. So Zach has Andy, he has his swim coaches, he has my staff, he has his massage therapist, he has his chiropractor. So if you want to see why Zach is improving, you just look at Zach and say, which one of the 54 things would you like me to start with first? So ultimately, the relationship that I have with Zach is now a relationship with his whole team. And that's the way that we are introduced to other professionals around the world. Like Andy Galbraith, he is the spinal cord injury specialist of the year, and what I'm led to believe, the spinal cord injury specialist in the United Kingdom. And here I am, the spinal cord injury specialist. So I've been told, but what we do is we think that there's always someone a lot better than you. That's a soccer player mentality. And you just have to put your head down and work hard and collaborate in order to get Zach. So why is Zach doing so well? Because of the triple S. He's got the Scot in Andy, he's got the South African in me, and he's a Scouser. So ultimately, what we have to do is think in terms of how we're going to get the team collaborating together. And that's the magic. There is no method behind the madness. There's a magic behind the madness. And the magic stands for making a greater individual commitment. So everyone on Zach's team is making a greater individual commitment, which elevates Zach to the next level. Describe Zach's work ethic as second to none. I mean, I was a former professional soccer player. Zach's a former professional soccer player. As a soccer player, you realize that you have to be in it for the long term. As a soccer player, you realize that you have to focus on your equipment check and your injury check. You realize as a soccer player that a lot of people are investing in you. So you have to make sure that you are on top form. You come in with your A game. And what I mean by A game is we use a vitality scale. So of course, Zach is affected by his physical impairment. He has nerve pain. So he'll come in one day and say, I'm not a 10 out of 10 today. I feel like a 2 out of 10. But I know that Zach is going to give 100% of that 2 out of 10. And that's what we feel. We feel it's the attitude of gratitude. And we say what's one is done. And then we focus on what can be done realistically. So that's what I call the can-do spirit. So regardless of however Zach comes in, and believe me, there are days that Zach has come in horrible pain. What we do is we focus on what we can focus in order to minimize the discomfort and maximize the effect. So Zach's mindset is something is better than nothing. And his mindset is, I've just got to keep moving forward, or keep effing moving, however you want to say it. But the point with Zach is that he has got a mindset that says, I need to focus on that finish line. And that finish line is being better. And better has no finish line. So when we take before and after pictures, we don't say this is your before and after picture. We say this is your before and better picture. So Zach is on the process of achieving never-ending goals, because he feels that once you achieve a goal, you are ready to move on to the next goal. And that's the way to keep focused. That's the way to keep motivated. That's the way to keep consistently focused and motivated, committed. Zach's work ethic is like a professional athlete, in the sense that Zach shows up and plays all out. And I've come to learn from speaking with Zach and working with Zach that rehabilitation is not Zach's obligation, it's his jobligation. Zach is 100% committed to his recovery, and it's a full commitment that he's making. And he's got the 3 W's. He's wanting to do it, he's waiting to do it, and he's willing to do it. And in that respect, Zach has unbelievable athleticism. When Zach comes in, we need to find a way for him to express his athleticism. So we do that with drills called neuromuscular reactive training. And neuromuscular reactive training is coordination reaction time. And you can't train for coordination reaction time. You can obviously train to build a super athlete, but Zach comes in with that already in his DNA. So we can maximize Zach's athleticism through applying all of the neurophysiological principles to a technique called neuromuscular re-education. And the way that we do that is by playing football. When people ask me questions about what does the future hold, I honestly answer them, and it's not a cruel answer, it's a wise answer. And the answer is, in graduate school, they didn't teach us how to use a crystal ball. And I would answer them, in graduate school, they did teach us about the deconditioning disuse syndrome. So the future looks like this. With exercise, there's only one way for Zach to go, and that's up. Without exercise, there's only one way for Zach to go, and that's down. And I could talk for 12 hours standing upside down on my head about the deconditioning disuse syndrome. So for instance, deconditioning disuse syndrome can apply to any one of us. So if someone has an injury or a physical impairment, you become sedentary. When you become sedentary, you reduce your incentive to exercise. When you reduce your incentive to exercise, you succumb to deconditioning disuse syndrome. And then you succumb to a whole host of secondary complications that are life-threatening. So essentially, when I advise someone about how to move on up and keep moving, I tell them the best time to start exercise is right now. And the question that you must never ask me is, when can I stop exercising? You must never stop exercising, because the human body is either degenerating or regenerating. We never stay the same. So essentially, how is Zach's future? His lifestyle will determine his future. And when we say lifestyle, it's not just exercise. Lifestyle is sleep, nutrition, hydration, skin, bowel, bladder, spasticity, stress levels, medications. I'll give you a classic example. If Zach comes in sleep deprived, he's going to be stressed out. He'll make poor nutritional choices. Then how good do you think his workout will be? He'll get no bang for the buck if he comes in that state. However, if Zach comes in well rested, de-stressed, well nourished, then he's going to get maximal bang for the exercise buck. And that neurophysiological adaptation will continue to take place over time. So with exercise, people think that exercising is hard. It's easier to get to that level of fitness than it is to maintain that level of fitness. So that is not motivation for you to keep moving forward. I don't know what is. End of and sweet as. Come on, you Reds, to the field.